This 38-year-old lady dressed seductively arrived at a college full of young males. Many individuals are immediately drawn to her gorgeous and luscious form. She came at the bottom of the building to await the departure of her 19-year-old lover from class. Balthazar noticed his lover in this clothing from afar. His eyes widened as he remained motionless, unsure what to do. Alice invited him to participate in the art display. "I can go sometime," he blurted enthusiastically. After saying farewell to Alice, Balthazar beams with joy. Alice is the fashion magazine's editor. She was on a business trip to oversee output at a foreign printing plant. On the way back, though, she was hounded by a guy. She dragged the young man who had just arrived and sat down after she became enraged. The man was a student of architecture by the name of Balthazar. He was especially thrilled because it was his first time traveling first class. He is enjoying himself by fiddling with the flat seat. The aircraft touches down. The men traded names for a split second. Balthazar abruptly caught sight of a USB stick on the floor. Alice had already exited the plane when he picked it up and tried to call her. Alice climbed into her car and drove away. Balthazar failed to catch up to her. When Alice resumes her job, she learns that Lies is attempting to take her place. She spoke to her director about it, but he informed her that Lies was more unrestrained and wouldn't be constrained. And she has been married 8 times, with 5 male and 3 female spouses, and she is now single again. He also informed her that she had been divorced for 8 years and was now uninterested in everything but work. You've lost your enthusiasm for life, so you can't develop the contents that your users enjoy. Alice is already in a state of distress. She couldn't find the USB stick after that. She noticed a message written by her helper and realized Balthazar had spotted her USB stick. She hurried to call and request it. Balthazar was at a disco when he overheard Alice's voice on the phone and became stressed for no apparent reason. Balthazar waved from a distance as Alice arrived shortly after. When Alice realized that he didn't have the USB stick with him, she requested him to acquire it as quickly as possible, so Balthazar had to bring her home. They got to Balthazar's pink scooter. He politely assisted her in putting on her helmet. Alice's colleague happened to notice this scenario, and the two gossips snapped a photo of it. Alice obtained the USB stick without a problem when the young man conducted a search. When she walked away, Balthazar followed her. He fumbled awkwardly and asked her to meet him for coffee. Alice could tell what he was thinking. She informed him that they weren't a good match since he was too young. As a result, she declined him. The next morning, Alice arrived at work and noticed her co-workers' weird expressions. Finally, she learned through her assistant that the images from the previous night had been viewed by everybody. But this is amusing information for her boss. He felt it was nice that Alice was in a romantic relationship with someone who was 20 years her junior. Alice resolves to reconnect with Balthazar in order to maintain her career, following the encouragement of his friends. So she ditches her customary conservative attire. Alice, dressed sexily, decided to pay a visit to Balthazar at college. She proposes inviting her to an art display in order to maintain her employment. But Balthazar doesn't know anything about Alice's plan. She is so charming, he can't help but accept her invitation. The elegance of Alice in her stylish black outfit left Balthazar awestruck. He couldn't help but compliment her on how lovely she was. Who among young boys doesn't like an elegant and mature woman? At this time, Alice tries to demonstrate an interest in Balthazar. To outsiders, this appears to be a typical couple's conduct, but she was aware that she was faking. She noticed Balthazar enjoying a wonderful time. Alice felt ashamed. With the hypocrisy of an adult, Alice commended the organizer on his creative abilities. Balthazar, who brought the wine back, said that it was useless for the organizers to make all these efforts, since the quality presented by the artist is poor. Alice laughs to hide her embarrassment. Balthazar followed her carefully with his umbrella after the concert. He kept his distance from Alice as she answered the phone. Alice lied about her child's hospitalization. So Balthazar asked to stop a taxi and let Alice leave. Balthazar was forced to hand over the umbrella to the passenger he had just gotten out of the automobile. Alice invited Balthazar to the company's runway presentation on this particular day. She took the event quite seriously because the group's president was also present. However, there was an accident during the concert. One of the models slipped and fell. Balthazar asked to the runway to assist her. The president, who was accustomed to witnessing several classical fashion performances, mistook it for an exceptional show planned by Alice. After that, Alice wanted to keep the spectacle going in front of her director on purpose. She took Balthazar to the company's party area programmed after the parade. A moment later, she noticed Liz asking a slew of questions to Balthazar. Because Alice is terrified that her plan wouldn't be going the way she wants, she immediately drags Balthazar onto the dance floor. An intimate dance raises the temperature. Balthazar, who is madly in love with Alice, rides her home on his pink motorbike. He intended to express his admiration for her when they arrive, but Alice understands what he's thought and avoids him. He was utterly infatuated by her, so how could he give up? He summons the confidence to knock on Alice's door. Alice, leery, took her time opening the door. Balthazar stood outside the entryway. When he saw Alice was alone at home, he immediately hugged her. The woman does not object. She brought the man directly into the bedroom after years of loneliness. The clamor they created attracted the downstairs neighbor's attention, who was out walking with his dog. They were visibly glad about their night together. It's fascinating how a lady in her 40s can fall in love with a young man. On a date, he always manages to surprise you. Balthazar left a note on the tree. He instructed Alice to follow the direction to the seat and retrieve the MP3 placed beneath the seat bench, which had a romantic and funny phonograph recording for her. He then joined her with his small pink motorbike. She drove Alice aimlessly about town. This is a po' boy's romance. Alice had seen many fine restaurants and classy before, but this time she appreciated the simplicity and purity. Exactly as she had planned, Alice was successful in keeping her employment. She was also debating if she should continue with this fake romance affair. Balthazar had planned a date for today. He shared his excitement for the future. Alice, on the other hand, spoke out frankly. She reminded him that as she becomes older, he will still be youthful and that he should not expect them to be happy. My daughter is 8 years old. As a result, we will only have weekends to enjoy our time together. I don't want to waste your youth as a result of this. Balthazar was taken aback when he heard this. But he didn't seem to be able to keep this woman logical. They separated. Balthazar was disappointed and depressed when he returned home. He stayed home all day instead of going out. The separation, however, was altered by Alice's president when she asked for the young man's presence on the poster of their next edition, attracted by his gesture on the parade stage. When Alice heard this, she became stressed and uncomfortable. Alice's manager is unaware that she and Balthazar are no longer together. As a result, he threatens Alice's employment and urges her to hire him. Alice didn't have a choice. She went straight to Balthazar. He assumed Alice was attempting to rekindle their relationship. But when he discovered Alice's real purpose, he became enraged and said, "I know." Alice couldn't wait to see Balthazar the next day at the shoot, but he didn't pick up the phone. She went to inform her director just as she believed Balthazar would be unavailable. But then the assistant walked in and stated that Balthazar was already registering. Fortunately, the situation is suddenly saved. Alice's buddy arrived and saw Balthazar in the middle of applying makeup. He informed Balthazar that Alice was merely using him to advance her career. Balthazar did not reveal his knowledge of the truth. He arrived for the session as intended, but he was furious at the photographer's rude attitude during the shoot. He even jumped into the lake, and Alice chased him down and apologized. Balthazar accused Alice of being greedy in front of everybody, saying she deceived him about his employment. Alice is shocked in the face of this circumstance. Because of the deception, her director also dismissed her. Yes, life goes on, but she came upon Balthazar's miscues one day. She constantly stood there silently staring at the shoes. She didn't move until her daughter called her from behind. She knew she was intensely in love with Balthazar, so she chose to ignore her intellect and follow her heart. Her friends led Alice to Balthazar's classroom. In front of all, Alice declares her feelings for Balthazar. Alice started kissing Balthazar on her own accord when he asked about their future. Isn't that the essence of love? Don't let the world mislead you if you're in love. Just be brave and feel everything. Be courageous and pursue without hesitation. If you have any suggestions, you can subscribe and submit them in the comments section.